It's been 4 months, 4 months since my son David passed. And I'll be honest with you, there are still moments where completely out of nowhere, tears just comes. I could be making tea, I could be in the middle of a conversation, I could be driving home from somewhere, or maybe just laughing at something and it just hits. And I've been sitting with these questions for a while now. Does grief actually get easier? I want to talk about that today, not with a polished answer, not with a list of steps, honestly, from where I am right now, because I think somebody watching this is asking the same question and deserves to hear a real answer, not a rehearsed one or from the book. Before I continue, I want to say something that this is not, I want to say that this is not a video where it gets completely and perfectly wrapped up at the end. I cannot tell you it's going to be fine and everything. I don't think that's what you want to hear. But what I can offer is this: where I am 4 months down the line, 4 months into this journey, what I've noticed, what shifted, what hasn't, what I'm slowly learning and understanding about myself through all of this. Grief is one of those things that people go through, but nobody prepares you for it. People come and say, I'm so sorry for your loss, and they mean it genuinely. But then life keeps moving, and somewhere along the way, there's this quiet expectation that you should be moving. Life is moving, you also should be moving, making progress, getting back to normal, being okay. And when you're not okay, when you're still crying in the car, calling your child's name out loud, still having whole conversations with someone who is not physically there anymore, it starts to feel like there's something wrong with you. I want to sit in that space today because nothing is wrong with you, and I think it's time we talk about this properly. 4 months in, and this is what my grief looks like. It's not constant. I will have to be clear about that. There are good days. There are days that feels almost normal, where I live. Life feels present and worth showing up for. But grief has a way of finding you in the gaps and filling those gaps. It could be in the morning before the day gets loud, when everything is quiet and your mind goes to places you didn't invite it. It could be in a song that comes on when you were least prepared for it. It could be in someone else's baby hitting a milestone, the first steps, and feeling that simultaneous ache of joy, of loss. Because you find yourself thinking, oh, my son, my David would have been doing just that. I still talk to him a lot, actually, and I love that I do. Some people might not understand it, and sincerely, that's okay. They do not need to. Saying his name keeps something alive for me, in me. Talking about him, remembering him, telling people about who he was, that's not me holding on to something I should let go. That's love. That's continuing in the only form it has left. The only form I have left. Because here is something I've come to understand. Grief isn't just about loss. It's about love that has nowhere else to go. And yes, it would need somewhere else to go. And I've stopped apologizing for that. And then there are the quiet moments, the ones that are harder to explain, the what if thoughts. What if he's here? What if he was here right now? What would my life look like? What would his personality look like? Will he be loud, curious, gentle, mischievous? What will it feel like to carry him home, to do the ordinary things that parents do without thinking about how precious they are? Bath time, feeding, cuddle, the middle of the night moment that feels exhausting and yet priceless, moments you'll never forget. I sometimes sit with those thoughts, not to punish myself. I would like to be clear about that. I'm not sitting there trying to hurt myself. I'm sitting there because that was a life I was building in my mind. That was the life I was imagining. And when you lose someone, you do not lose just who they were, you lose who they were going to be. You lose the portion of yourself that existed in that future. That's the part of grief that doesn't talk about a lot. Grieving a future, grieving what might have been, grieving a relationship that was still being formed, grieving milestones that never arrived. I think one of the reasons people struggle is knowing what to say when someone loses a child, a baby. There is this instinct well meaning though, this elf, at least you didn't have too long with them, at least you're young and you can try again. I don't know where those words come from, but I try to understand that they come from a place of not knowing what else to say. But what you don't account for is that the love was already there, the attachment was real, the future was already being dreamed of. You don't have to have years of memories to have a grief that is profound and valid and worth honoring. My son David was real, his life was real, and what I lost was real. So, does grief get any easier? Well, 4 months in, and if I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't say it has been easier. That word doesn't feel right to me. The love has not reduced, the loss has not changed. I still miss my son in a way that's physical sometimes. It sits in your chest, in your throat, in the space behind your eyes. But I've noticed something, and I think this is where my real thought lives. I read something a while back in a way of describing grief that stopped me in my track. The idea that grief doesn't shrink, it stays the same size, but you grow around it, you evolve. And I think that's what has been happening. I have not been getting over it. I have been growing around it slowly, quietly, without even realizing it. My capacity to hold it has been expanded. My ability to carry it and still show up, still laugh, still connect, still engage with life, that's what has been shifting. It's not that it hurts less, it's that I'm becoming more able to hold both things at once, the grief and the living, the missing and the moving, the deep ache of his absence and the genuine gratitude for the time, however brief, that I had with him. That's not easier, but it's something, and I think it's actually something more real than easier. Make that practical, because I don't want it to just sound like a nice phrase. Growing around grief for me has looked like a few specific things. It looked like stopping the fight. I spent some of the early weeks fighting grief, trying to manage it, contain it, schedule it. Like if I cried now, maybe I won't need to cry later. Trying to be strong in a moment where strength wasn't needed. And at some point, I just stopped. I stopped trying to control how grief showed up. I started just letting it go on. I cried when I needed to, sit in the quiet when it's needed, not rushing myself back to, I'm okay, I'm fine. That surrender, and I mean that in the best possible sense, was one of the most brave things I had done. It's one of the most brave things I've done. It looked like giving myself permission to say his name, to bring him up in conversations, even when the room goes a bit quiet. Permission to have a hard day without needing a reason beyond I miss my son. Permission to also have a good day without guilt. Because laughing doesn't mean I've forgotten. Smiling doesn't mean I don't miss him. It just means it still happens and I'm still here. It also looks like releasing the timeline. There is no finishing line for this. I want to say this plainly. There is no point at which you should be done grieving. Anyone who has suggested, directly or indirectly, that you should be over your grief by now, I say this gently, they haven't been where you are. Grief doesn't run in a calendar, it runs on love, and love doesn't have a timeline. It also looks like letting God into the painful places. I talked about this a little in an earlier post, how I have been learning to sit in the hard moments instead of running from them. One of my most honest moments with God had been the ones where I had nothing articulate to say, just silence, just, I don't understand this, just showing up and being real about the ache. And I have found consistently that He meets me there. Not always with answers, but with presence, His presence. And sometimes that presence, His presence, is everything. If you're watching this and you're still crying, talking to your child or loved ones, still saying their names, still having days when the weight sits heavily upon your chest, I want to speak to you. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not doing grief wrong. You're just loving someone who is no longer physically here. And that's one of the most human, most sacred things a person can do. There is no right timeline, no correct amount of tears, no version of this that looks the same for everyone. Your grief is shaped by your relationship, your personality, your faith, history, hopes, all the things that makes that person yours. Nobody else grief looks like yours, and nobody else gets to set the pace for how you grieve. If people around you have moved on faster than you, that's their process. If they expect you to be back to normal by now, that's their discomfort speaking, not a deadline you are to meet. You don't owe anyone a performance of healing. What you owe yourself is the space to do this genuinely. I've stopped asking if grief gets easier. I think the better question, the one that actually has been very useful to me, is am I learning to carry this well? Not perfectly, not without pain, but well, with honesty, with grace towards myself, with room for both the hard days and the ordinary ones, with the freedom to talk about my son David without apologizing for it. Today, next month, 5 years from now, he's still my son. That will never stop being true. And loving him actively, openly, unashamedly is one of the ways I honor that. Grief is not the opposite of moving forward. It's something you bring with you, carry along with you. It changes shape over time, and it becomes something you grow around, something you learn to integrate into life that's still worth living. I'm still in the middle of learning that, but I'm learning. I still miss my son. I still think about him. I still talk to him. I still tear up sometimes. In the car, in the quiet, in small, unexpected moments that catches me off guard. And I'm learning that all of that is okay. More than okay. It's love. It's an ongoing love, and there's nothing about me that I need to fix. If this is something you're walking through, whether it's the loss of a child, a parent, a friend, someone you are not sure the world will understand you grieving, I just want you to know that you're not alone, not even a little. Drop your comment below if this resonates with you, and if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it. You never know who is sitting with this question quietly and just needed to know that someone else is asking it also.